97 for Niagara Falls and on to New York. Today is a sunny July 26, 2025. I'm at Oakville, catching the Maple Leaf for New York departing, and he's on time today. Pulled by P42 number 99. I've seen that running around. Here we have a high-speed GO going west.
Well, your friend Christian has.
Oh, here's the GO Transit Mimico facility. Those, I like the Metrolink scheme. They look sort of like Dart in Dublin. The old scheme really doesn't look that good by comparison. Look at those cab cars. There's one of the older cab cars. They're the exception rather than the rule. Mostly it's those fish bubbles. Alright, there's an MP40 PH3C, a class unit number 600. There's an F59. There's a few of those running around. It's mostly the MP40s, and they got a few MP54s. MP54 ACs. Here I am in Toronto Union Station. Right behind me is MP54 AC 667. That was the first one built as an original MP54 AC. The first one was 647, which was a rebuild from an MP40 PH3C. As you can see, you got a lot of neat stuff here, all lined up. Picture perfect. Those are MP40 PH3Cs over there, and these white-faced buttes are the MP54s. Today we're going to explore the Lakeshore Line out to Oshawa. Visit as many stations as I can. Well, 9:50, here he goes, headed for Oshawa. Over these gigantic trains. Well, over there on track 13 is the 10 o'clock train to Stouffville. He goes as far as Mount Joy. It's not pronounced Stouffville, it's Stouffville. short train, only had 6 cars and one of the older cab cars. I'm in the lobby of the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, and look at those banners. When are you going to start playing good in the playoffs, huh? When are you going to start winning? I was 11 when you won the Stanley Cup the last time. In my lifetime, okay? I'm 71 now. Come on, guys. Let's get it together. You always sell out. Seems like they show up no matter how bad you play. Come on, you got the talent. Play hard. Don't give up. Well, we just got off at Danforth Station. First station east of Union. Here he comes. This line we are on right now is it's owned by Canadian National. The Kingston subdivision runs to Montreal. It's the old Grand Trunk Railroad. The line opened between Toronto and Montreal in 1856 by England. Canada didn't even exist back then, not until 1867. See GO and Via trains on this portion of the route. Once you get to Pickering, Canadian National Freights get into the action, and because of that, GO built their own subdivision between Pickering and Oshawa, which runs parallel to the CN Kingston sub. Well, approaching at 10:47 is Via number 40 en route from Toronto to Ottawa. Looks like he's got a GE P42 on the point. Well, we have a good crowd waiting for the next GO train, which is arriving, heading for Toronto, Union, and beyond. At the interlocking up ahead of Danforth, he's got a very unusual signal. It's a limited to limited signal, which is a red over 2 flashing greens. How about that signal fans? That's unusual in the States. Well, this is a meeting point. At 11 o'clock, approaching is a train from Toronto to Oshawa. You can just make out that limited to limited signal back there. the trolley up above. Approaching westbound is a train from Mount Joy on the Stouffville line. They run every hour. These trains don't stop here. There should be one heading to Mount Joy shortly. F59 PH561. I've been hoping to see those. They seem to be running on these Mount Joy trains. Should have another one coming up shortly. Well, here comes the outbound to Mount Joy. He departed Toronto at 11 a.m. No F59 on him. Gonna hop on this train and get off at the next stop of Scarborough. Scarborough GO Station. Okay, we're looking at the signals of Scarborough interlocking at the west end of the Scarborough GO Station. Yellow over flashing green over red is a clear to limited. Proceed at track speed, but slow to limited speed by the next signal. And arriving at 11:52 is a train en route from Oshawa to Toronto and beyond. He's on track 1 with that signal, clear to limited. Track 2 has a clear to limited signal as well for Via 61 from Montreal to Toronto. Well, those brake lines are noisy on the outside. .56, here comes Via Rail 61, Montreal to Toronto. It's using a number of an old Rapido train. left Montreal at 6:45 a.m. Here comes a train from Mount Joy about to enter the main. The interlocking, he had a limited to clear, limited speed through the interlocking, and then proceed to track speed. Remember, Canada's a bilingual country, English and French, although Toronto is roughly 99% English. Okay, we got a Oshawa bound train arriving here at Scarborough. These trains are like long green snakes. Well, hauled by one of the more powerful diesel locomotives in North America, the MP40PH-3C. The only other commuter era that operates that type of locomotive is Sounder out in Seattle, Washington.
A train traveling high speeds will be passing through this station shortly.
Well, here's a Mount Joy train slithering through the interlocking at Scarborough. He'll be passing to my right.
Pour votre sécurité, veuillez vous tenir bien à l'écart de la ligne jaune.
The Stouffville line seems to be very nostalgic, either with F-59s as the locomotives or the old cab cars. 12:23, we have a Toronto train coming in. Funny if I captured all 67 of those. I've seen enough of them, and I'm going to see more. All right, we're at the next station, actually the second station east at Guildwood. We skipped Eglinton. Guildwood is an important stop. In addition to GO trains, you have some Via Rail trains stopping here. Hope to see a couple. Interlocking up ahead is Guildwood, as the sign would indicate. This next stop is Rouge Hill. This station has undergone significant improvements since the last time I was here. I think that was about maybe in the 90s. Guildwood was significant. It was a stop for the Rapidos. CN operated 2 Rapido trains between Toronto and Montreal each day. After Toronto, they would stop here to serve the suburbs of Toronto. Then Dorval was the next stop, 311 miles later, for the suburbs of Montreal, and then Central Station, Montreal. Of course, they stopped for crew changes at Belleville and Brockville. And 112, a westbound GO train is arriving from Oshawa to Toronto and beyond. You can hear the crossing bell for the grade crossing east of the station. Unfortunately, it's a silent crossing, as most crossings in the Metro Toronto area are. I was thinking of riding GO up to Allendale Waterfront tomorrow. I'm told that's a pretty scenic ride up around Lake Simcoe. I'll give that some thought, and I know they blow their horns for grade crossings up there. Thunder. Those things are really loud. You know, all those multi-levels are Bombardier oriented, and this was the first commuter railroad to get cars that had that design. It's spread to other railroads. Caltrain has them, Metrolink has them, Sounder has them. I think Pacific Express in Vancouver has them. Let's see. Oshawa bound GO at 1:15. Okay, other transit system, commuter railroad systems that have those type of cars. Front Runner Express out of Salt Lake City. New Mexico Roadrunner Express out of Albuquerque. And there's also Trinity Rail Express in Dallas-Fort Worth. Well, approaching eastbound at 141 is via train 644, Toronto to Ottawa. He doesn't stop. He's got Siemens equipment. Should have 2 more Via Rail trains stopping here in short order very soon. Right behind this GO train is Via Rail 643 from Ottawa to Toronto. He'll be stopping on the track closest to my right, and he'll beat him into Toronto. The GO train will still be making a number of stops. Via 643 from Ottawa to Toronto. He's about 45 minutes late. .154, his Via Rail 64 from Toronto to Montreal with a P42. Looks like it's seen some insects in its travels in Canada. Very entertaining period of time here at Guildwood. From here I'll head east to the next stop, which is probably my favorite on this line, Rouge Hill. Here we are at Rouge Hill. It's actually a road crossing. It's not really it's a pedestrian crossing. Since I was last here, 12 years ago, they fenced off that road crossing. You can't even walk across the tracks anymore. You can get good vantage points of the locomotive stop next to you, but they did away with that. We're right on the edge of Lake Ontario here. You can see it's a bit misty. Well, you can still access the hiking trail from the grade crossing on the eastbound side only. On the westbound side, you have to go underneath a tunnel. You can't use the railroad crossing anymore. Bummer. Yeah, I got off a little while ago at the Rouge Hill GO Station, walking down this hiking trail, and there's Lake Ontario. Somebody's out on the rock outcropping taking a nap. Not great visibility today, but you can certainly smell the seawater. I hear a GO train going towards Toronto in the background. Believe it or not, across that about maybe 40 or 50 miles is western New York State. Not too easy to see today. Somebody's having a nice time out there. Down below the bluffs, I'm walking east. Imagine what a beautiful spot this would be on a clear day. When I see this site along Lake Ontario's North Shore, I'm reminded of the lyrics by the great late Gordon Lightfoot. Far below Lake Ontario, takes in what Lake Erie can send her. No more was that appreciated when I went over the Welland Canal the other night. I saw a large vessel dropping in the lock to go from Lake Erie to Lake Ontario. It's a beautiful spot in spite of the misty weather. To get to these lakeside vistas, you have to walk through all of this. No, thank you. A broken foot or a twisted ankle is more than likely the outcome. Lots of hikers and bikers out. Not sure where this path starts and ends, but can't beat the view, albeit limited in visibility. Yeah, getting out to that vista would really be nice, but look what I gotta walk through. I'm no spring chicken. Well, there's the path, and this is about as close as to the lake that I can get. I'm not about to step down onto those boulders either. And I most certainly am not going to walk through that. Well, when they call this route GO's Lakeshore Route, they're not kidding. Well, this is the most accessible part of the lakefront that I've been able to find. Man, look at all this debris. Eastbound. They're running on 15-minute frequencies now. This is more like it. Nice beach here. I'm walking east towards Pickering. GO is right up above me on the left. I saw an eastbound go by on top of the cliffs. You would love taking pictures here. Somewhere up ahead there's a river that goes under the tracks. I'm looking for that. They're running on 15-minute frequencies now. Whoever heard of a diesel railroad doing that on a weekend with 12-car trains, no less? I didn't bring my bathing suit with me. Well, here's my reward for this long walk I took. Little Rouge Creek, and the railroad goes right over it. We'll stick around and get a few trains. Westbound for Toronto at 3:17. They sneak up on you. Eastbound, you should hear what the engine's working. Eastbound at 3:28. There's a pedestrian bridge that crosses the creek. And from here you get a great vantage point on the opposite side of this trestle. Should have a westbound very shortly. Now I'm on the opposite side of Little Rouge Creek via the pedestrian bridge over the creek. Get this great view here. The mighty Lake Ontario. Well, at this marker we enter the city of Pickering, Ontario. When GO Transit began back in 1967, Pickering was the eastern terminus of that system. Now it's a through station with trains continuing east to Oshawa, and GO has become a much larger and much more frequent commuter rail network. Getting foggy again. That was a westbound at 3:47. Eastbound at 3:58, bound for Oshawa. Back to the Rouge Hill Station. This eastbound was right there, so I jumped on it. A couple of stations east at Ajax, Ontario. Ajax was named after the HMS Ajax, a Royal Navy cruiser in the Second World War. And since Pickering, GO has gotten off the Kingston sub and is now on its own sub, the GO subdivision. And the reason why they built that is because of what you see on the right there. That's a westbound Canadian National empty potash train. He's heading back to Saskatchewan. He must have come from the port of St. John, New Brunswick, or Halifax. And this busy highway that parallels the Kingston sub and the GO sub is Ontario Highway 401, the McDonald-Cartier Freeway. Runs from Windsor, Ontario to the Quebec-Ontario border. It's 514 miles. I believe this road has the distinction of being the longest non-federally funded limited access highway in North America. Missed the head end power, but it looked like he had at least 3 engines on the front, including some SD75Is. Shortly, he'll be coming off the Kingston sub and heading in towards McMillan Yard via that route. This train is enormous. He's got a DPU on him. Got an ET44AC DPU. There's a westbound into Toronto. They're running every 15 minutes, both directions. Whoever heard of that on a diesel commuter railroad in North America? Soon after, another Oshawa train comes. the next station of Whitby, the last stop before Oshawa. This station is also on the GO sub, with the CN Kingston sub right there. Whitby has the distinction back in 1958. A junior hockey team called the Whitby Dunlops defeated the Soviet Union to win the World Ice Hockey Championship. The captain of that team was Harry Sinden, who became a Boston Bruins coach, and he also coached Team Canada to victory against Russia in 1972. Approaching on the CN Kingston sub at 5:08 is via 65. Montreal to Toronto. He's got two Siemens Charger sets coupled together. Never seen that before. Well, here we are, the end of the line. Oshawa, Ontario. Automotive City. Hang around here for a bit, get some VIA trains, hopefully some CN freights. Here is the Oshawa Station, combined GO Transit and Via Rail Canada station, and also the home of Durham College. Oshawa is a decent-sized city in Ontario. It's also the home of the famous Oshawa Generals hockey team, the Ontario Hockey League. Some famous players who played for them: Dave Andrechuk, Tony Tanti, John Tavares, Eric Lindros, and Bobby Orr. Bobby Orr was probably, undoubtedly, the greatest hockey player that ever played in the NHL. That's all I'm going to say about him. Okay, approaching at 5:57 is via 68, Toronto to Montreal. All right, 68 has another P42. Why can't they run an F40? Actually, they have, but I've been unfortunate enough to miss them. The only rail fan here right now. Like myself, he's proudly wearing a Canada hat. Hey, when I come up here, I want to be known as one of the good guys, so I wear my Canada hat. None of that 51st state crap. Don't get me started. I'm getting myself started. We should have another via right behind him, 54, Toronto to Ottawa. I'm waiting for a Via Rail 54 from Toronto to Ottawa, and I'm wondering why it's taking so long to get here. I think I am finding out right now. We got an eastbound intermodal train coming on Canadian National. Hallelujah. Canadian National runs very long trains. Wow, monster. That's train 148 from Chicago to Montreal. A lot of Mediterranean shipping containers on it. They're undoubtedly heading for the port of Montreal. Will be going out of there up the St. Lawrence Seaway. Now this trackage is owned by Canadian National. And don't tell me that they give Via Rail preference on this line. And 6:40, arriving Oshawa's train 54 to Ottawa with a Siemens charger set. A young rail fan friend is still here. He's trying to get horn shows, as I have been today, but I gave up. I wasn't getting them. Sounds kind of sick idling. At 6:47, I've been wondering why train 67 from Montreal to Toronto is late. I'm about to find out why right now also. Meanwhile, 54 is sitting here, had to pick up a handicapped passenger. I'm sure there's a DPU on this. Everything. Crude oil, I don't know if they were loads or empties. A lot of lumber, and those were loaded auto racks. They came out of Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. Well, it's 6:58. Finally, 67 is arriving from Montreal to Toronto. And I may get my wish with an F40 scene somewhere. CN did this guy no favors. Finally, I'll take it, front or back. And here comes my train for Toronto. It's been a very entertaining few hours here at Oshawa. And a very entertaining day following the Lakeshore East line from Toronto to Oshawa.